Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone. Roll call, Mr. Lundberg.
Holm.
Yes.
Odie. Klumper. Saxer.
Yes.
Schrader.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there's nothing that needs to be changed on the agenda tonight, I would entertain a motion to approve it as presented, please.
So moved.
Second. There's been a first and a second. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. I did not see any conflict of interest disclosure or waiver requests tonight. I do not believe there's any public community input tonight. So that takes us to our first item under general business, under administration reports, the superintendent's report. Superintendent Larson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before I get started, I do just want to note that I'm going to concede in the No Shave November charity beard growing contest to Business Manager Lundberg. So feel free to designate the charity of your choice, Mr. Lundberg, and I will submit my monetary donation. Anything to add?
Nope.
I do think there were a couple of other administrators out there that maybe were engaged in that friendly debate. Feel free to contribute to Mr. Lundberg's charity if you would. With that, want to note, academic calendar, it's currently in the process of being developed. It has been shared. The initial draft will be presented on Monday, January 14th. Provide the board an opportunity to provide input, insight, etc., and there is potential approval action, second meeting in January. Last year's school accountability data, so the report card data, previously scheduled to be shared today, has been delayed. The South Dakota Department of Education put out a press release indicating they will come out here late November. Whether today or later in the week, I have not heard exactly when, but I have full intention of providing a State of the Schools address at our December Board of Education meeting, so we can provide that student achievement data, SPI data, etc. An item I previously spoke about but want to touch base on, BV Listens. That is a staff survey, a staff certified and classified staff survey. Ultimately, it's a work environment survey. As we continually work to move the needle on student achievement, that is a research-based strategy, whereas if we target some of those areas that teacher perceptions exist, we can focus in on some items and continue to work to move that needle in a positive direction and increase student achievement. So would note that Director Nelson has provided valuable input and resources on that. Certainly appreciate her work on that. We will roll that out at our staff in service on January 21st. Look forward to getting those results and using those to drive decisions. That's kind of aligned to a few years ago we did a teacher needs survey. If you recall that's part of where the middle school one-to-one initiative came about. So again, it's building on that general concept. Want to make the board and the community aware we'll have a city-school collaborative work session prior to our December Board of Education meeting. That will take place at 5 p.m. here at the high school. We'll probably originally meet in this room and then move to the Commons for a working dinner session, and then back here for some roundtable, and then we will have our meeting at 6:30 p.m. That will be an agenda that's posted, et cetera, in accordance to state statute. Then the other item I want to note, Wednesday, December 12th, 7:30 a.m., we will hold a school state legislator breakfast meeting. So our District 10 and 25 legislators will be joining us, those that are available, on December 12th at 7:30 a.m. at the Administration Center. Then just a couple of academic calendar items to note. Get out of school a couple hours early on December 21st, and then we will be on winter break. School will resume on January 2nd. There's no school on February 15th or February 18th. Oh, did I skip the graduation requirements? I sure did. So this last summer in, I believe it was in July, the South Dakota Board adopted new graduation requirements. They don't go into effect completely this year. You could utilize them or you could not. Due to the timing, we just stayed consistent with our previous requirements, and now we are working towards that implementation date. I believe it's a fall 2020 when they have to be fully implemented. Director Nelson, our Student Activities, Curriculum, and Technology Committee, in conjunction with our high school administration, will take a look at those graduation requirements and provide any feedback or insight necessary for our school district. I would tell you that the new graduation requirements are based on increased flexibility for students regarding CTE courses, apprenticeship, internship opportunities, those types of things. The general concept, increased flexibility for schools. So I would certainly, with that, I would certainly entertain any questions that you have.
I don't think we have any. Thank you very much, Superintendent Larson. No board policy tonight. Takes us to general business. Item number 1, the report on the 2018 Facilities Review Committee, where there will be no action taken.
Very good. Thank you, Madam Chair. So I would like to first and foremost thank our Facilities Review Committee, approximately 30 individuals from the community. Lengthy process. The committee was made up of 2 Board of Education members, our Building and Grounds Subcommittee, 11 community members whom were recommended for appointment through the Board of Education members, and then 14 staff members representing all of our various levels, elementary, intermediate, middle, and high school. Also had administrative staff representing those levels as well. So ultimately, the committee's charge, the purpose of our Facilities Review Committee is to review, validate, and change the current facilities plan, assess facility needs, and then provide non-binding recommendations for facility projects and needs. With this Facility Review Committee, we had 2 specific objectives. Objective number 1 was to recommend a building location for the next elementary school, and then also develop a long-range vision for the Brandon Valley School District. And you will find those here in the recommendations that will be laid before you. So I do want to just touch base on the process that we utilized to get to the point that we came to. I liken it to some pretty simple things. Review, analyze, prioritize, plan, act, and repeat. And if you think about it in a process way, that's basically what your facility review process has done back in 2007, in 2013, and again here in 2018. So we review, analyze, prioritize, plan, act, and repeat. So in meeting 1, it was an extensive review of information. We looked at the 2013 Facility Review Committee report and the completed items. We looked at current facilities, and we reviewed growth trends. At our second meeting, we again reviewed information. That was a review of residential growth plans in both Brandon and Sioux Falls. In the Sioux Falls that is within the Brandon Valley School District, I would note. And then we also reviewed the Brandon Valley School District growth in and of itself. We reviewed our 2 building site locations, and then we conducted a SWOT analysis on both of those site locations. In meeting 3, we really focused on prioritizing and planning. We did receive a riveting school finance overview from business manager Lundberg. He provided us insight on school finance, exactly how it works, capital outlay fund, bond issues, historical information regarding our bond campaigns, etc. We looked at the proposed construction timeline. We reviewed our analysis of each location, and then we began to draft our 20-year vision through small group and large group discussion. And then lastly, at our 4th meeting and final meeting, we finalized our priorities. created the plans, and ultimately are recommending the following actions. We utilized consensus questions and then also had a vote on 2 specific items. So again, those specific objectives: recommend a building location and develop a long-range vision for the Brandon Valley School District. And I believe that is very clearly defined within the recommendations as outlined by the 2018 Facilities Review Committee. So with that, I will provide you the non-binding recommendations from that Facilities Committee to the Board of Education. First and foremost, construct an elementary building on the school property owned at 41st Street and Sparta Avenue that could be ready for occupancy in the 21-22 school year. So ultimately, construct a building south for the start of school in the fall of 2021. Construct an addition at Brandon Valley High School when the current enrollment hits a 90% utilization trigger, taking the capacity at Brandon Valley High School to approximately 1,800. So our current capacity runs about that 1,400 mark. When we get to that 90% trigger point, put on an addition and take it to 1,800. Third recommendation, maintain one high school as long as possible and utilize innovative solutions to alleviate capacity pressure at Brandon Valley High School, such as Off-Site Academy at school-owned land in Valley Springs. And I would note that there were a lot of innovative potential solutions to alleviating capacity, and that will be work for a future Facility Review Committee. But that is one item that we wanted to note, and that stays true to the 2013 Facility Review Committee: maintain one high school as long as possible. Next recommendation, construct an elementary building on the school-owned property east of Brandon when Robert Bennis Elementary hits a 95% utilization trigger. So that recommendation came about because we do identify that we have capacity pressure growing on Robert Bennis Elementary, and that is an item that was very legitimate within the group. And we identified that there is likely going to be a need in the very near future, so we combined that in with our recommendations. Next, discontinue the use of Valley Springs Elementary when an elementary building is constructed on the east side of Brandon, and begin preparation to utilize the school-owned property in Valley Springs for the purpose of an off-site Brandon Valley High School CTE Academy, alternative high school, and/or other innovative secondary educational programming. So the reason we utilize the term CTE Academy is because that's something that is easily known and understood. I would tell you that it could be, in addition, could be a STEM academy, could be a fine arts academy, could be talented and gifted. I mean, truly the opportunities when we talk about off-site academies are endless. So I just wanted to note that is the recommendation of the committee. Next, begin the pre-construction planning process for a second intermediate school in the southwest quadrant of the district when the current Brandon Valley Intermediate School hits an 85% utilization trigger. So you would note that we are utilizing the elementary utilization trigger for the intermediate school as opposed to the 90% trigger that we use for the middle school and high school. And the reason for that is because we see greater growth at elementary and intermediate school levels, which means you need to act a little faster on that front. Next, begin the pre-construction planning process for a second middle school in the southwest quadrant of the district when the current Brandon Valley Middle School hits a 90% utilization trigger. I did note that the greatest amount of dissension within the group surrounded the appropriate size for a middle school. The committee recommends reconvening a facility review committee when the Brandon Valley Middle School utilization trigger is hit to further plan for the middle and high school facilities. And I would say we also had substantial conversation around the appropriate maximum size for a high school, meaning is 1,800 a maximum size for a high school, or could 2,100 be a maximum size for a high school? There was dissension amongst those two numbers, so when you reconvene your facility review committee to take up your middle school question, it would be an appropriate time to consider and reevaluate the high school as well and continue planning at that point in time. Next recommendation, the board should continue to seek appropriate sites for future school buildings, which may include, but not be limited to, Beavis South, West Elementary, Brandon Valley Middle School South, a transportation facility, maintenance facility. Further, the expansion of existing school sites would also improve the future school land usage potential. Another recommendation, continue the use of enrollment triggers for the purpose of proactive growth management. So again, utilize that 85% trigger, except for the Robert Bennis trigger, which we specifically recommend a 95% because of the proximity to timing on when to call for a facility review committee. But continue to use those enrollment triggers for proactive growth. And then lastly, the board, to the extent possible, should collaborate and cooperate with our communities on facility, playground, and park space when constructing school facilities for the overall good of the districts and citizens. So with that, included within the Facility Review Committee final report, we have BV Vision 2040. So it's hard to imagine the Brandon Valley School District with 7,300 kids in it, but we assume with some educated guesswork on our past growth trends that in 2040 will be in that range. So what we have created is BV Vision 2040, which outlines our facilities when we reach that number. And I would tell you that it aligns to the recommendations within the Facility Review Committee, and I hope pretty clearly defines the direction forward for the Brandon Valley School District in a meaningful way. So with that, I would note that a complete report is available. It will be uploaded to the Brandon Valley School District website under Quick Links. We will have that up tomorrow. And then in addition to that, a hard copy is available at the Administration Center in its entirety. So with that, I want to send a special thank you to Brian Reed, the Brandon City Administrator, who came in and provided our committee information regarding residential growth within the city of Brandon. Also want to thank Jason Bieber and Albert Schmidt from Sioux Falls Planning and Zoning, who have been wonderful to work with over the past few years. Definitely would like to thank previous facility review committees for their work as they laid the foundation for all the work that was done by this group. And then lastly, the 2018 Facilities Review Committee for their time, effort, and insight through the process. So with that, I would entertain any questions you have and do my very best to accurately represent the group's perceptions.
I have a quick question on the current capacity for Bennis Intermediate School and the middle school. Do we have by chance know the current percentage?
High school is 78. Can somebody hand me that large scale report? Thank you. Brandon Valley High School is currently at 78%. The middle school is currently at 698 with a 90% trigger of 810. The intermediate school is currently at 698 with an enrollment trigger of 743. High school 78% utilization, middle school 78% utilization, intermediate school is 80. Robert Bennis is currently at 89% with an enrollment of 557. Yep. Thank you, Principal Skipstead.
I would just like to echo the thanks to the community members that are on this. I know that many of them have enjoyed the process of being involved in it. Were there comments made? I know there was a review of a lot of the different schools across the district as far as looking at those buildings and looking at the updates needed to maybe equalize the buildings?
There was not extensive conversation regarding remodels or any of those items per se. I would suggest that those items are addressed through the 5-year planning process through building administration. So if they have the need for building updates and those types of things, they can work through the 5-year planning process as we remodel or renovate an existing building.
It's exciting to look at all the growth that we have, and the plan that's laid out, I think, definitely gives us a good steering for that. So thank you for the leadership on this, and again, all the administrators that were involved, thank you.
Anything else? If not, thank you so much, again, everyone, for all the work that was done on this, because we could not make educated decisions and plans without having good input and seeking it from our communities that we live in. So thank you very much. And thank you, Superintendent Larson, for your leadership on this. All right, general business item number 2, approve the recommendation for the 2019-2020 elementary school boundary lines.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As previously discussed, as a growing district, we sometimes deal with some challenging items as far as boundary lines go. I would like to formally propose or recommend altering the Fred Assam boundary line, as previously discussed, basically taking the Brandon Elementary boundary west at Holly or Rice Street, and then including the northwest portion of our school district into Brandon Elementary. There is potential for what I would say approximately 100 students, 80 existing, potentially 20 incoming kindergartens, approximately 100 students being reassigned or redesignated to the Brandon Elementary building, which has plenty of capacity space available. I would note that the open enrollment process will be followed. We also talked a little bit about current third grade students at Fred Assam will be allowed to stay and remain at Fay. Siblings of third grade students will also be allowed to stay. However, open enrollment, transportation fees, and the like will be applied to those individuals. And then beyond that, open enrollment requests from existing students, grades JK through 2, would be processed in accordance to our administrative regulation as found in policy. It would be my intent that we communicate with those families in the very near future, a direct communication via letter sent to them outlining the timeline, and then we would have formalized decisions made on open enrollment requests by early February so that they can continue to plan. Would like to thank administration, staff, and feedback and community for their input and their insights throughout the process, but would certainly make the recommendation to alter the boundary line as presented.
Any questions or further discussion on this one? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the recommendation for the 2019-2020 elementary school boundary lines, please.
I would move to approve the 1920 elementary school boundary lines as proposed.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Next, approve recommendation for the location of the district elementary EL program at Fred Assam Elementary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So with the boundary line change, we ultimately split our EL group of students, and given our current status as far as number of kids eligible for funding, number of staff, et cetera, it is absolutely critical that we operate one centralized EL program at our elementary level. So with that realignment comes a variety of factors. I would tell you that this has been a complex decision. I truly appreciate Principal Foster's feedback and understanding. I appreciate the Fred Assam staff and their insight. The EL staff has been absolutely critical in the formulation of this decision. I would tell you that with that, the long-range vision and solution and viable solution for the EL program as a centralized location would be the Fred Assam Elementary boundary, or Fred Assam Elementary, and that would be my recommendation. But I would note that we will have potentially some capacity strain for the 2020-2021 school year prior to our elementary south going in if everything goes as planned. So that is one item to note. We're already thinking creatively about how to manage that additional capacity, and I do believe we can do so in a very, very good way and create a learning environment that results in success for all of our students. So with that, would recommend Fred Assam Elementary as our one centralized location for our district elementary EL program.
Anyone have any feedback, questions on that? Sensing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the recommendation for the location of the district elementary EL program at Fred Assam Elementary.
So moved?
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All of those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Personnel items, there are 3 items there for consent approval. I would entertain a motion to approve those as presented, please.
So moved?
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All of those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Communication is there for you to look at. And board reports. Does anyone have a formal board report that they would like to share tonight?
Quick follow-up from Legislation Day. All amendments did pass. There was a few things that were changed. So you can definitely look up on the website. I can pass that along to you as well. The one thing that was changed, and just giving you a heads up, definitely that is most critical to what we tried to fight for, is funding, especially for our incredible staff and teachers. We first want to make sure that they do follow through with the state law and fund. So we're fighting for that first and foremost. But we changed the wording, and we're asking that we're really fighting for that first and foremost. So if you know anybody get in their ear, but it's rather than asking for the rate of inflation or 3%, whatever's less, we are trying to fight for whatever's greater. So we changed the wording in all things that we're fighting for. So that is the big thing on Wade's plate. So that was just a semantics. It's always been whatever's less. They just changed it to whatever is greater. They may be shooting for the stars, but they thought, hey, let's go for it. So that's kind of the biggest thing. So we'll see what happens. So that was something that was a big topic of discussion and peer amongst all the tables, and it went on a lot of things that Wade will have on his plate. So we'll see what happens.
So we had our first wellness committee meeting of the school year, and it was a good chance to meet everyone. There were some new faces. So we talked about the objective of the wellness committee and some of the takeaways from that meeting. A focus on nutrition goals, which would be trying to limit food waste in the cafeteria, getting the word out and making people aware of that and what that is and maybe how to combat that. Talked about maybe the lack of awareness that people have, where you can actually limit how much your child spends on the a la carte line per day through Skyward. So that might help with some food waste, among other things. We talked about some physical activity goals, essentially get kids moving and being active as much as possible during the day. Talked about staff wellness. The health screening went over really well. And so continue to do that and other things as far as focusing on the staff. We also talked about some other items such as the 25-calorie limit food item in the classroom and kind of how to handle that, and just exploring that topic, and then kind of making sure everyone's on the same page as far as following food policy that's sold or served during the school day from organizations, things like that. So interesting meeting, good discussion, so looking forward to seeing where that goes.
Thank you. Anyone else have a board report tonight? Okay, thank you very much. Travel reports, there's an item there from Mrs. Osheim, Ms. Shaman about a trauma and body workshop. Otherwise, it looks like that takes us to the end of our scheduled agenda, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming.